Oh, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Join us today. We've got Jason, the train freak, with us today, and then of course our regular cast of crazies.
Oh yeah.
Jerry's out train hunting today, so he's going to have more fun than we are.
Yeah, look for some live videos of.
Yeah, he'll probably get some more good pictures.
Yeah, he'll have some good stuff out.
Yeah. So anyway, but good to have everybody here. And I'm sorry my voice is giving out.
We
Steve,
were just
run
discussing
down
the proper pronunciation of gondola.
Gondola, it's not gondola. Yeah.
Steve, why don't you go through chat?
Good. You guys ought to come on the pre-show. We have such a good.
It's fun.
Hey, good morning. Anyway, we got a lot of Johns in here this morning. Lots of Johns.
All the Johns are here.
All the Johns are here. Good morning, Mark Pruitt. We got Steve Anderson. How you doing? John Tanzillo, Rob T-Man. We got John Grandpa Rails, Derail Daryl, Joe Rader, Schuylkill River Valley. Happy birthday, I think. I was looking in chat. I think it's your birthday today. Anyway, Roy Eltham, how you doing? Roy Hardwick, how you doing? Good morning. We got Tammy and Mom and Son Railroad. Good morning. My buddy Bernard, how are you doing, Bernard? You saying it's raining. That's crazy. We got Mike's Deep Run Railroad. Good morning. And I'm sure I missed somebody. Lynn McCurdy. Good morning, Lynn. You guys got in early. We got Sparky. Good morning, Sparky.
Did you get Dragon Lover?
No, not yet. I haven't seen him. Dragon Lover. Well, anyway, good morning, Dragon Lover. Well, anyway, hello. How was everybody's holiday?
Good.
Anyway, we got Jason here, and I don't know if most of you guys probably know Jason well enough to know he's a soundtracks guy and install soundtrack stuff. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I missed
That's the motto.
Good morning.
And anyway, we're just going to shoot the breeze with Jason today. Jason and I actually went to the Bentonville train show. I guess that's what they call it, Bentonville train show, something like that.
Northwest Arkansas.
Northwest Arkansas. Yeah, we went over there, and that was actually a pretty good show.
When is it? Is it an annual train show?
Yes, it's in February. I think it's the second Saturday in February, and this year, 2023, they actually changed the ownership. So previously, when me and Claude went, we actually went the last year that I think it's called Sugar Creek Model Railroad Club hosted that train show, and I think that club just disbanded, or it's about to disband. They're not getting any young membership in it. But the Arkansas and Missouri Railroad took it over for 2023, and they'll be doing it every year since.
Oh, that's good.
So
that's good. Keep it going, yeah, because they had a lot of people there.
Oh yeah,
the weather was a little dicey, but I remember trying to walk across the parking lot. It was like walking on a hockey rink.
Yeah, it was all ice.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, but it was a good show, and not that I bought very much. I think I bought one little caboose, but it was fun to meet Jason personally, face to face, and go see that. So anyway, Jason, tell us what you've been working on here lately. You got that slip switch done yet?
This is as far as I got.
Okay, here we go. Let me get you big here.
Well,
it's looking pretty good.
It looks complete.
Yeah, the only thing I got to do now is I got to solder wires under each of the frogs, and then cut the frogs out, and then glue the ties and install it.
It looks good.
So
Yeah, looks really nice.
So now, do you like using the sweepsticks or the not the sweepsticks? Those are the
quick
sticks.
So I don't use the sweepsticks. I order the sugar pine off of Kapler Lumber Company,
Okay.
And so I'll glue each tie on individually and cut them to size. And actually, I like that better.
So what do you use to glue? Just out of curiosity.
Plyo bond.
Okay, I hate that
I
stuff.
was told plyo bond, so
I hate it too.
I just started.
It works, and I found if you're going to use plyo bond is after you get glued and go by and hit each little spot with your iron just for a second or two, and that dries it out quicker, and it actually holds a little better. But I found the same thing. It doesn't always hold well, and the sweep sticks are, they look okay if you can get them on there good and straight, but they're not easy to get on there in one piece. So, and I have a tendency to put more PCB ties in than what they call for in some places. I found it makes doing anything different a lot easier because it holds everything. But
well, one of the things I'm hoping, so I haven't quite hinged the points on this one yet, because it's just a little, slide back and forth on the throw bar. So I'm hoping my tortoise with the piano wire will actually move it, at high tension.
What size piano wire do you plan on using?
It is stuff that Steve Childers sent me a while back. So I can't even remember what size it is. But if Steve is in the chat, which I don't know if he is or isn't, he could answer that question. I just know he sent me piano wire one day. That's all I know.
So I've been using 3-2. Yeah, I've been using the 3-2 on all of mine, but you could absolutely use 3-9, especially with the standard gauge. The ties are a little wider. I didn't like trying to use the 3-9 on my narrow gauge ties because your hole is almost when you drill it, you have to be really perfect not to go outside of your tie. So I know that 3-9 will for sure work, and it's nice and stiff.
Yeah, I figured I'd need something like that because trying to get a jeweler saw in there to cut to rehinge those points is going to be a pain in the rear.
Yeah. But they're already the point in is already soldered onto the tie though, right?
On the throw bar, yes.
That's what I meant, the throw bar.
Yeah.
Because that's how I ended up doing my 3-ways. Because I only hinged the one closest to the frogs. That's the only one I hinged. And I found that keeping it, because I think the instructions, if I remember right, called to do it before you soldered onto the throw bar. I didn't do it that way. I soldered onto the throw bar, cut it, then I had a whole unit that I could move in and out. And it wasn't too terribly difficult.
Okay. So, I don't know.
Just a second. Shannon, I sent you the link. So check it again. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. My keyboard, my Bluetooth keyboard is decided it didn't want to work again, so I'm stuck with just talking.
Now, Jason, is your double slip, is that something that you had planned on from the very beginning, or was it something that you were like, hey, what I need here is this, but it came as a kind of a revelation as you were building the track?
So if my layout was prototypical, keyword prototypical, I would not have any double slips because on the prototypes, double slips are typically only found at busy passenger terminals here in the United States. Same with double crossovers. The reason why I'm using the double slip is just for selective compression. So I had it to where I was going to have 2 turnouts throat to throat, and they would either be both right hand or both left hand. And I'm just like, if you butt up 2 number 4 turnouts, it is 18 inches in length that they're Atlas turnouts, from leg to leg. This is not 18 inches, and this is a number 5, which means that it would have been bigger than 18 inches if Atlas made number 5 turnouts, because the number 6 is 12 inches in length. So to me, it was a no-brainer. It's just, selective compression. type thing, and so that's why I'm putting it. And that's not going to be the only one. I think I have in my plan 2 more double slips and then 1 more single slip. So
How many hours do you have into that, Jason? It looks great, and I'm sure it's going to operate well on your layout. But like, how long has it taken you so far?
so this was my very first attempt at doing a double slip, and I did it on a live stream a week ago from yesterday.
It was about
So
4 hours, wasn't it?
Close to 5, and I started
Was it?
running into frustration, and I think that was due to I was starting to get tired because I have to be at work early in the mornings or having to get Aaron on the bus in the mornings type thing. So it was past midnight by the time I finished, and the only issue I was having by the time I got done with the live stream was getting all the points lined up and soldered to where I wasn't soldering the stock rail, onto that throw bar as well. That was my frustration that I was having. But I went back on it, worked on it again a little bit the next morning. I think I maybe spent 30 minutes and I got it finished up. So I would say about 5 hours is what it took me just to get to that point.
Nice.
For a first attempt.
Well,
Yeah.
and doing it on a paper template takes a little bit longer too, I think, than doing it in a jig. But like I think I said on the show, the problem with the double slips in the jigs is by the time they get all of those lines run into where they all come together, there's no jig there. It's all open space. So you might as well do it on a paper template.
Yeah.
There's
the only
actually
jigs.
The
The only jigs I have is number 5 and number 6 turnouts. Everything else I've done, such as that curved yard ladder, the compound yard ladder that I did, was all paper templates stitched together. And then the next one that I plan on doing, which I finally got my PCBs in, the bigger ones, is I plan on doing a double crossover.
Yeah, there you go. Are you going to use their diamond crossing? That new diamond crossing he's got?
No, I'm gonna do paper template and build it. And so if you think about it, like with me being an NMRA member, and I'm also working towards the achievement programs, so I'm working towards my civil AP. And one of the things you have to do is you have to scratch build 3 different types of trackage. And so a turnout counts as one, but in that category, it's either turnout, curved turnout, or a Y. So you can't do all 3. You can only do one of the 3. You could do a single slip, a double slip, a single crossover, a double crossover. I'm trying to like dual gauge turnouts, things like that. A 3-way counts. So I've already done the turnout. Now I'm finishing up the single slip, and you have to show it's not just building it, but you do get graded on it too. And you have to demonstrate that a locomotive can drive through every single point of it with no derails. And then, so like I said, once I finish the single slip up and then I do the double crossover, that will be my 3 trackage types.
So say that again so I understand it. You can do 1 turnout, a 3-way, and then what else? What's the other one going to have to be?
So they have a list. There's a list of different types you can do. You just have to do 3 of that list.
Because I've done the 3-way. I've done a multitude of just
turnouts.
Standard turnouts. What else would I have to do to meet that standard?
Oh Lord, the hair came in.
Screw you guys.
He looks like he just got back from a quest. Took his helmet off and.
No, I've been growing my hair out, so this is like 2 months so far.
Well, don't get cleaned up just for us.
So something else. Okay, so Dennis, like there's like a list of several different items that you can do. You just only have to do 3 out of that list. And I think there's like
so you're not
10
talking
different
about
types.
just specifically building track. That could be
Right.
2 of
anything
a lot
on the
of things.
list.
Okay,
But it has to be 3 different things.
right.
So 3 regular turnouts don't count. You can only use 1 of them. So like a crossing, a diamond, doesn't matter if it's a 30 degree, 45 degree, 90 degree. a crossing
What,
counts.
what about a turntable? Is that on that list?
I don't think so. Not for scratch build purposes. It is on electrical though. Now having the turntable on your plan. So the civil AP, it's pretty big. Like you can go to the NMRA's website and look at all the requirements on it. And it's pretty
I
straightforward.
have. I just don't remember all of them.
Yeah, it's as far as the scratch building, it's trackage type, and I know turntable's not on that. So, and a straight piece of track doesn't count either. So,
I'm out. Yeah, that's actually a neat program. I mean, it gets you trying some different stuff and trying your hand in stuff that you may not be comfortable with doing.
I just wish there was
that's part of the hobby. Yeah, it's just jump in and do it, and you'll find out you're a lot better at things than you think you are.
yeah. Y'all see
Yeah,
Container
I've
Man's
through that list,
comment?
and I remember this was years ago. I can't remember what's on the list now, but I remember jumping on the NMRA website, having a look and going, "Yeah, I'm happy to do that, do that, do that." Nah, screw that one, that can piss off.
See, I haven't seen anything that I don't think I'm going to end up doing eventually if the railroad goes the way I want it to. As a matter of fact, I think I've done quite a few things already that gets me pretty close to a lot of those things. It's just a matter of the documentation and the fact that I have no club. And so there's no one really to facilitate getting it done through. Because I wouldn't mind paying the dues so much, but I would want something in return for that, so to speak. And if I can't regularly go to a meeting or interface with the people, it would just I would kind of feel like I'm just throwing my money out there for, I guess, just a card in the mail or something. I don't know. Now, I might be confused of exactly how it works too.
So we don't have a club in our area either. We'll take that back. There's actually a Fremo club, but that doesn't count because all they do is you just build a module and they hook it up and run trains, and that's it. So that's the only club that I do know of in my area. The closest operations club that I know of is like a 3-hour drive one way. And I know I would be tired if I was to go and drive 3 hours, operate for 3 hours, and then come home, which would be another 3 hours and not including lunch. So you're looking at a 10-hour day just to operate for 3 hours. And so that's why I'm kind of building the layout, and I designed this layout so that way, because I do have, some friends that don't live too far. They don't live in my community, but, within an hour's drive away. And so this will allow someone, if they wanted to work on the chief dispatcher AP, that is going to be available. It's just, how long is it going to take me to get all this built? Rome wasn't built overnight.
Right.
So.
Yeah, see, I've got a club about an hour and a half away from me, and Roy just put it up there. Problem is that I'm working 2 hours in the opposite direction of that particular club. So I'm having to drive 2 hours home for my weekend. And I think I looked into, I think their meetings are either on Tuesdays or Thursday nights. It's just impossible for me to be a member. And as much as I would like to be, it's not going to happen now. I'm going to have to wait until I'm probably retired before.
Well, Roy's saying start your own club.
Well,
problem there is everybody else would have to drive
it'd be a
3 or
club
4
of
days
me.
to get to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of out there. And well, it'd be the same reason you ended up not doing a musical studio there. You're just a little bit too far out to get enough people.
Yeah, who's going to come out here to run a train would be the same chances as somebody coming out here to record a guitar or a set of drums. So
yeah. Well, I'll be out there. I'll be out there again for sure.
yeah.
Because seeing your space in person and knowing what it's going to end up looking like is, I'm almost more excited for yours than I am for mine.
Yeah, I think right now I could keep 3 people busy. I think right now, the person in Silver Gulch probably wouldn't feel like they had as much to do, but 2 people, I think one person could operate just a stage train and Silver Gulch at the same time and be pretty happy with that, while one person would operate Frying Pan.
Well, you've got enough room to have several people in there without being in each other's way. Whereas you've seen my layout in person, so you know there's not a lot of room in mine, but I wasn't planning on having a lot of people come in to operate either. I was building this for me. So
Yeah, I kept all my aisles 36 inches just for that.
and I did, and I
There'll be
sacrificed
some
some,
places
so
where it might be a little tighter than that, but I don't think I'm going to go under 30 inches anywhere. I might steal 6 inches in a few places.
I sacrificed some of my aisle space to have more layout.
Maybe you should do what
What's yours
Hayes
look like,
does.
Jason? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen a kind of an overview of everything you've got. You like from here's where this starts and here's where it ends kind of thing. Are you mobile? Can you actually take your camera around and show us, or is that possible?
I could probably change to a different camera, and y'all get to see the really, really, really pigsty of a train room I've got right now.
Aren't they all?
Same as ours.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that is zoomed way in. Let me zoom out.
Yeah, now Claude, I was saying you should do what Heath does with the whole over the internet, people coming in and running your trains when you're running trains.
See, there's the pigsty. All right, so I'm way over here. So I've got, this is a staging
Are you
yard up here.
behind your camera right now?
Yeah. So you see my hand waving?
Okay, gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Okay. So I've got a 5-track staging yard here. I will have a 4-track staging yard down here. And then behind me, there is 2 individual staging tracks. So here is the sawmill area that I am working on.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't see it, but behind the grain elevator is where the train comes out of staging. So the main line is right there, coming right down the middle. You can see the siding to the grain elevator. And so this is one of my first town scenes, and you can see the double crossover there. I'm actually going to replace that with a hand-built one. And of course, like I said, there'll be another deck underneath. I just haven't built all that because I want to do all the wiring and stuff for the top level before I even build the bottom level, so that way it's not in my way.
Is that a big sprinkle?
A big wrinkles?
No, is that a big donut with pink sprinkles?
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is.
Let's see if I can get over there. There you go.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to say it's a little stale though.
Yeah, well, yeah, it could be, but so actually I named that Homer's because that is a Homer Simpson donut.
Homer's hole.
So there you go. All right. I'm still trying to get used to this camera, so I apologize if I make anybody seasick.
No, you're doing good. This is so much better than the shaky cam.
You're way more you're way more sophisticated tech wise than I am.
Oh, me too.
And see that, tech is my specialty, especially being in the IT, for a trade. So I do love the tech and stuff. Unfortunately, with this humongous vat of my Budweiser plant, you're not going to be able to see
Oh, you gotta.
all the track, but you can see where there is a double slip right there. And so it's a Pico double slip, and I'm actually going to take it out and put this one in. So I'm in the process of replacing all of my turnouts with hand built. And then I'll probably end up selling a lot of these other turnouts, probably used on eBay or something. But this is my town of Hickory Ridge. There's 4 industries here, and it's kind of like a switching complex. So you got your double main, but you've also got a little 2-yard track, or a 2-track yard, sorry. And this is controlled by a different switcher. So I could have like a new person learn how to do operations just within this 120-foot wall. And then further back, I'm going to have to zoom way in to get up there. But back where you can see the orange and brown cars, that is a interchange yard, which is my town of Brinkley, which represents Brinkley, Arkansas. And that's where the Rock Island and the Cotton Belt actually interchanges cars between each other. And so when I was mentioning earlier about staging, the two big staging areas are my Cotton Belt main line. The upper staging behind me is actually a single track, and that's the Rock Islands local that comes out of Little Rock. And so the Rock Island will go off back in the corner. I don't know if you can see the other camera, but there's a little hole in the backdrop behind that camera, and that's where the Rock Island goes out. And that's kind of where I'm at as far as building the layout. What my plans is to kind of follow that bench work, and I've got to get it more stable. So I have no track on it. It's just kind of storage right now. And it's going to kind of fall that way, and then it will go into the center of the room, and there will be a helix. Track radius is 30 and 32 inch on a 4-inch rise, and that's how it will tie into the bottom level.
Now, Jason, is that a basement? I don't see any windows.
Do what?
Are you in a basement, or is that a separate room?
This used to be a garage, and we enclosed it last year. Yeah, last year we enclosed it. So this wall here actually used to be a garage door. So we took the garage door out, we framed it in, sheetrocked it, insulated it, and I put in my own AC and heat unit in here.
That was fun watching your videos when you did your renovation.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It wasn't really train related, but it was kind of like, hey, this is, where we're going to be at type thing. And, this is why I'm making these changes. And it was either do that or buy a train shed, because back in, well, I guess it would have been 2021. We had what was called Snowmageddon. And Claude knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, it was bad. So
your overall dimensions of the room, are they basically 24 by 24, give or take?
20 by 20.
20 by 20, okay.
Yeah. So what happened on Snowmageddon? You're going to love this story. So at the top of my garage door, there was a crack, maybe this wide. And here in Central Arkansas, we don't get a lot of snow, especially like 12 inches within 2 weeks. That doesn't happen. And so I had birds fly into my garage to try to seek shelter from the cold, because we even hit sub-zero temperatures a couple of nights. And I remember walking into my garage, seeing birds flying around, and then, of course, I find bombs all over my layout. So I was like, yeah, I'm not building a layout in here again for that to happen. Like, I didn't want to continue or nothing. And so I talked to my wife about, getting a train shed like Sparky. And she was like, wouldn't it be just cheaper to enclose the garage? And I was like, yeah, it would be a little bit more work, but it was a whole lot cheaper. I think that renovation cost us about $1,500 to $2,000, just to frame it in. Yeah, it wasn't bad, especially with the price of lumber and stuff going up too. So,
yeah, exactly. Well, I remember, when I first started watching Dennis, he was off and on building the Time Saver, but he was remodeling that, not remodeling, but you were enclosing and sheetrocking that room and stuff. Because I remember giving you a couple of tips on some stuff that you were doing, and I'd see what he was doing. I'm going, you need to do it this way. It'd be a little easier.
Yeah.
But it was funny because I got to see that room before it had anything in it. And now to see it with that layout in there, it's like, wow, it's going to be really nice. So, yeah, it was fun to see.
That's
see
the
that
cool
kind of
thing
stuff.
about YouTube. Yeah, the cool thing about YouTube is you get to see all of the wonderful, great comments about what you should have done after you've already made the mistakes.
Why the heck did you do it that way?
Yeah,
Why did you do it that way? Geez. Carpentry 101 says you should blah 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 blah.
But some of that's good though, because it can save you some trouble down the road, you know?
Yep.
At least that was any input I had on it was that's all I was trying to do is save you some heartache down the road.
I don't remember you being obnoxious, so.
Yeah, it was only one or two things you were doing. I don't even remember what it was. It was something
Yeah,
about electrical. Must have been someplace like where you were putting an outlet or something.
Well, I know there was a few things that I did with the electricity that was temporary, and there might have been something that showed up in the camera that I didn't discuss. That you weren't the only one. There were a lot of people. Whoa, what? Like, hold on, guys. I did it this way for a specific reason at this time. But before I put sheetrock and everything else in, because I had an electrician come in before any of the sheetrock got here and kind of look at some few things, and everything in the wall is in a junction box and done like it should have been done, even though I'm the one that did it.
Okay. But anyway, I saw something, and let me go back here and find the comment.
While you're doing that, Jason, I got a question on that backdrop with all the clouds. Did you paint that, or was that purchased?
So that was purchased by a guy by the name of Train Junkie. So he is out of Salt Lake City, and actually that image, I can pull it back up so that way y'all can see it. Let's see here. Let me go back to. Okay, so this image here, it's the rice fields with all the clouds and stuff. That's actually pictures that I took and sent to him. He told me exactly how to take the pictures, by the way, but he actually stitched it together for me and put it in a backdrop.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Nice.
Looks good.
And who did that?
His name is Train Junkie. He's got a website. He does custom backdrops for people. Now, of course, he put in the transition. It's probably going to be a little dark, but we'll see how. You can kind of see how it transitions to more like woods, and that's his Georgia forest. And so he actually ended up being able to transition from it going from like a forest to the rice fields that represent the Arkansas Delta.
Yeah, those look really good.
Yeah. Looks good.
Yeah, he did a really, really, really good job on it. So, and then of course he put the town in with this camera. I can't really show you, but he made it to where the road that's not put in yet will actually fade into the backdrop. So I have taken some pictures with that road piece there right up against the backdrop, and it looks like the depth is like 4 buildings, but you can physically see there's only 2 buildings here. So it's a pretty neat effect that he was able to do for me as well.
Cool.
Yeah, I think I looked at his, the first time you mentioned him on your channel, I think I went over and looked because I was still buying backdrops in. But there was somebody else, Joey Ricard with Trackside Scenery, but most of his stuff was Eastern scenery. And if I remember right,
yeah, they're both real
was
good.
kind of the same way. So I wanted the Colorado mountains, and Lark Products had those pictures that I wanted. And he had the pictures of those narrow gauge lines, the scenery that those actually go through. So that's why I went with him. But there are some good backdrop places out there. And most all of them can do custom stuff or change things for you.
Absolutely. I'm gonna see if I can find that picture real quick on my phone, because that's actually one of the coolest pictures to share. I think I might have went just a little too far.
Right. 220, 221. Okay, who gets that? I get that. I know what movie that's from. Pretty funny.
But
Oh.
while I'm looking at it, y'all can ask another question if you want.
Well, who was it I put up there a minute ago that he said you designed a layout for him that he's building?
Oh yeah, James. Yeah, I just got done doing his layout design for him, and I think he's getting ready to build it. So
Cool.
Nice.
That's cool. You know, I had Brian ask me early on when I'd met Brian, because I'd sent him some.
I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you see the blue car to the right of the bus, to the right of the Greyhound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The front of that car is touching the wall.
Very cool.
Nice.
That's great. That's good.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great illusion of depth there.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why I had him do that. And he didn't charge any extra to add those little things in there. The only thing he charges extra on is if you're transitioning from one type of backdrop to another. That's when he does his charges.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, and Brian's in here. Hey, Brian. Brian had asked me if I would do a track plan for him. And, you know, I told him, I said, you know, I just started back into the hobby and I'm not really a trained person and know what the prototypes do and all that kind of stuff. So I did not do that for him, but his came out okay, I think, the way he did it. So, but when somebody asks me to do something like that, I'm like, I'm not the best person to ask for that kind of thing. I've
got a question.
But I'm not going to try and do it for you.
Yeah.
I've got a question. It's kind of a generalized question, but it looked to me like part of your town was on top of some masonite, some hardboard.
Yes.
So I'm thinking about doing that very thing with my town of Silver Gulch. Are there any concern sculptamold, plaster, anything on that could actually in the long run end up making it warp and distort or delaminate? Has anybody had any experience with any of that kind of thing?
So that's what I always use masonite for my building foundations. And you can literally I use plaster of Paris, and I would just butt it right up to the top of it, and I've never had any issues. So
yeah, because your plaster is going to dry fairly quickly.
yes.
So you're not going to get a lot of moisture intrusion out of that, or shouldn't anyway. No matter.
That's what I used for my river on the Time Saver. I stair stepped the river down, and I used masonite for the stair stepping, and I covered it all in plaster. And so far, I haven't had any problems. But those are also, really small squares. Yeah. And what I'm going to do with Silver Gulch, my plan right now is to overlap multiple different layers of the masonite to build the low end of the town up to the high end of the town, because it's going to gradually get higher as the street goes up. And so I'm planning on using masonite. My only concern is that it might actually warp or delaminate or cause problems 3 years down the road.
So I screwed my masonite down into the plywood.
And that's what my plan is too.
Yeah. And I have not had any issues. So this is on my previous layout, so I don't know how well it's going to show up. But right here, you can kind of see the edge of, let's see here. I'm having to work the camera backwards. You kind of see like a little valley right here where my finger is. that's actually the edge of the masonite, and I just basically used that plaster of Paris. I used my finger and just kind of filled in that gap like you would silicone, on a window or
Right.
something, caulking.
Yeah, that's exactly what my plan is for the most part.
And for me, it worked out great because now my building, or in that case, it was the stock pins, had a flat, smooth surface to sit on. Because, even with plywood, and you can have sanded plywood and whatnot, if you get any little bit of moisture in that plywood, it's going to cause some swells in different areas. So it's not going to be completely flat and smooth, but something about masonite, when they finish it, they call it hardboard for a reason. It's just so flat, so smooth. I use it for all my roads. So the Train Junkie guy that does my backdrop, he also does a road system, and they're peel and stick vinyl roads. And so I use that on masonite as well, and it's just like a extremely smooth surface.
Yeah, back years and years ago, I remember my dad. Well, and I've removed it too from houses over the years. People using the masonite that has the smooth surface on it. It's in a color or design or something like that, but it's got the hard surface on it. People used to use that for showers or tub surrounds in showers. Now, over time, it's not a good idea because the water will get in there eventually, and that much water will finally make it collapse. But I don't think you're going to have a problem, Dennis, with it. If you screw it down or use wood glue and glue it down and then screw it down, it's not going anywhere.
Well, my plan is I want to make, of course, this is all going to come out in this week's video anyway, but I want to be able to make that town, or at least what I'm calling Black Hawk Street, completely removable, where I can work on all the structures on the piece of masonite, on a workbench, kind of do some of the details, and then slide it in and out, put it where I want on there, see what it's looking like, and then eventually make it permanent on the town. That's the idea.
Well, even
Okay,
if you just paint it to seal it, that'll should alleviate any doubts.
Say that again, Shannon.
I was saying, even if you just paint the edges, that should alleviate any doubts of any moisture getting in there.
Yeah.
Masonite's not going to warp. Like what Claude was saying, if it has prolonged and consistent exposure to water, it's going to crumble more than it would do anything, because it'll get in on the.
Yeah.
Like Shannon says, if you paint your edges, you eliminate a wick spot, and you're never going to have any problem. It's going to outlive all of us probably.
But like Steve says here, plaster tends to pull the moisture out, so it does act like a barrier. But you're not going to have, after your installation of your plaster, you're not going to have any more water on it.
My only real concern would be in this scenery process, something would happen to create a problem.
Well, you spill your beer on it.
After it gets put on there, I wouldn't think that it would later on.
I've had a little
the amount of
experience with
moisture
that.
you need would have to be a significant amount.
Yeah.
Everybody was talking at once.
Soak in water for a long period of time to
Supposed to spill your beer.
Yeah, I spilled beer on mine, so it didn't hurt it. But no, I don't think you'll have any problem with that.
So what I can say is all of my techniques are not from me. I did not create them.
Yeah.
I've learned them from a guy who's been in the hobby since, I don't know, probably the 50s, 60s. He used to be a federal Department of Transportation inspector who was assigned to the railroads. So he used to work with the FRA a lot. So his railroad knowledge across the whole U.S. is astonishing. And a lot of the techniques that I've learned from him when it comes to scenery, because he's also, like, scenery is his forte. It's a lot of old school methods, but the thing about the old school methods, if they work then, they work now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I use aluminum window screen to form my terrain, and I use plaster of Paris. It's a little heavy, but it works.
Well, Jack wanted to ask,
that's another.
anybody use a spray foam for base for mountains? And I would say yes. I've seen people do that.
Yeah, I use spray foam. Like if I make a foam board where it's just square edges, I just use the spray foam to give it some random texture, and then I just cut it into and sand it, whatever. Throw scenery on it, done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bernard was asking if masonite wasn't what you use for your splines, Dennis.
Yeah, but they're up on their edge and they're laminated together.
Yeah, but
And I've
it
also
wouldn't be any
on top of
different.
that.
No, it's not going to be any different. I really don't think you need to worry about it. I don't think you're going to get enough moisture on there in the scenery process to have a problem with the masonite. And if you think you are, get you some primer and prime it all before you start. Dogs are going crazy. Prime it all, and that'll seal it.
Yeah.
And then you won't have to worry about it. But yeah, I don't think you'll have a problem with it at all. Not in what you're talking about doing.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Do we have any more?
That's my plan for this.
No, Bernard, that was yesterday. Yeah, well, but yeah, I was telling Steve about yesterday. I didn't get in bed till 1:30 this morning. We were at my daughter's house game night. My wife and I's anniversary was yesterday, so.
Oh, happy
Yeah, right.
anniversary.
How she's put up with me for 44 years, I don't know, but anyway.
Mine is not the 15th of this month, so I will tell you that. I think it's
Okay.
20th.
Well, I've got a weekend. No, let's see, it's not that weekend. I know I've got a weekend, 4th of July weekend. We probably won't have a show, but because I'll be out of town too that weekend. But that's a good.
And I'll probably be
That's
in the
a good
hospital with my
weekend to
wife.
plan not to have a show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be up at Train Mountain now, so
Yeah. So you can just count on July 4th. We won't be here. And I think it's the weekend before July 4th. But anyway, I know I won't be here for that.
Yeah, because I think the 4th of July is like on a Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, it's after it's after the weekend. Yeah, early in the week. We get the dog. The little dog can't handle the fireworks, and around here it's like a war zone. So we leave town and we've got a place we go to. We go up the Roaring River in Arkansas or in Missouri. You know where that's at, Jason. So we go up there, and they don't have very many fireworks, so we don't have to worry about the dog having a heart attack or something, because she gets really crazy, unfortunately.
But see, here they don't do fireworks; they just do shotgun shells.
they do bombs.
Yeah, and then you have stuff raining down on you.
Mhm.
Yep.
Well, we got what do we got here? We got about 13 minutes left. Anybody want to ask Jason any questions? Thanks, guys, for the congratulations stuff. It's my wife you should congratulate. She's the one that's put up with me.
And I don't know how she did that.
Say again?
Well, I've met you guys. I don't know how she puts up with you.
I don't either. I don't either.
Oh,
Jason, do you do decoder installs, or do you just sell the decoders?
No, I do the installs.
You do. So if I sent you a locomotive,
He won't do
you would
it.
do
I've
the
already asked
install.
him.
It depends on the locomotive.
He won't do.
Just
He
remember,
won't
Mike's
do,
price is
he
double
won't
the
do narrow
price.
gauge brass locos.
You won't do narrow gauge brass.
No.
He already.
So
I've already
still
checked
got-
on
I still
that.
I won't even do HO brass, like straight
One, two,
HO
three.
brass.
I got like 5 that all need decoders in them.
Brass is, especially if it's painted, is such a pain in the rear to do an install on because of how the power is routed through the locomotive.
Yeah.
Preaching to the choir. I understand that.
Yeah, Shannon would probably
Me
do it
too.
for you, Dennis, but you'd have to ship everything to Australia.
Yeah, it's a pain.
Well, I mean, I figure I need to do it myself. I've watched about every video on YouTube there is about doing brass locomotives. I know I've got the skills to do it. It's just a matter of devoting the time to do it and deciding, do I want to devote a whole weekend to doing this, or do I actually move the layout forward? And so I've always made the decision to try and move the layout forward instead of a locomotive forward.
Bernardo wants to know, Jason, are you planning on running big steam on your Helix? Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Let me get the picture bigger.
Cab forward.
Oh, yeah, that's big steam.
Challenger?
That's
Nah,
cab
cab
forward.
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
What's
barely
that, AC12
smaller.
or
No, that's a Broadway Limited.
no? But it's an AC12, AC11, 10.
It is an AC4.
Oh, real early one.
Yeah, it's an early one. Yeah.
I've got an old Balboa AC12 of my dad's that's browse. Yeah. Doesn't run, but sure looks good.
Here you go, Dennis. John says Stephen Fields, who works with Streamline Backshop, does brass DCC installs.
So, Jack, the Helix is going in the very middle of the room. But that will be the very last thing I build. So,
Yeah, Bernard
Yeah,
actually,
John, is pricing reasonable?
oh, yeah.
Dennis,
Yeah, it all
obviously
depends on
you
how much
haven't
it
installed
costs.
DCC and brass before.
Do what?
You've never installed DCC and brass before. If you're asking
No,
how
I
much
have
it's going to
not.
cost.
oh, it's a pain.
Huh?
He said it's a pain. And I would agree.
Well,
I would
know it's a
I would
pain.
agree
know it's a
probably,
pain
and that's why I
because
asked him if he did it.
You're going to have to find a way to get the power from the tender, and separate those two things and put scrapers on
Okay.
the back wheels, and if you want to
Okay,
get it
put it this
right.
way.
You
Put it
could
this
do
way,
it one of
Dennis.
two ways.
Three
You
words.
could-
Lots of lube.
You could do it one of two ways. You can either do the full all-out job, separate the right, on the locomotive and the tender, separate the right rail from the left rail. You can also go the other route and keep the power routing the way it is. You put your decoder in there, you isolate the motor, your lights and stuff like that from the locomotive in itself, and run all those wires back into the tender where your speaker and your decoder is located. But if you do it that way, definitely add a current keeper, because if for some reason either that locomotive or the tender itself loses some type of power connection, it kills the whole thing because you're not getting power all the way through. You'll spend a lot less time doing that. So, but it's that materials cost that you got to add in there.
Right, because if you're going to make them both independently capable of getting both rail A and rail B, you're going to have to separate the frame from the drivers on the locomotive itself, and that's where the trick is.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember when I did mine, I had to pull mine apart. I had to create an extra pickup for the left side of the drivers, add pickup wires, used a lot of heat shrink to make sure they're isolated. I used a bit of araldite, and I made it so I knew the locomotive could run on its own without the tender. And then I modified the bogies on the tender so they had dual pickup, more araldite, lots of wires, micro plugs. I think I spent a month working on it.
Yeah,
That
it's
was
a pain.
And
was a
I'm
Sunset
not
Models
ready to do that
K27.
yet. To me, like, I don't know if any of you guys watch Rob Bennett or not, but he has a saying that is, you either pay with time or you pay with money.
And here's another kicker.
If I could afford it, I would have somebody else do it.
Yeah. And so here's another kicker that a lot of people don't know is a lot of your older locomotives, the motor is not energy efficient. Meaning that you need to check and see what that amp stall is of that motor, because let's say that you take the motor out and you test the amp stall and it runs at 2.2 amps. That can fry an HO scale decoder. And I've seen where some people have tried to put a N-scale decoder in a switcher, and that's because the motor runs at 1.5 amps. Well, the N-scale decoders are only rated for 1 amp.
Yeah.
And so they wonder why they keep trying N-scale decoders in their HO scale switcher when there's not really a lot of room to add an HO scale decoder.
Lynn McCurdy wants to know how
Guessing
far you're
that
backed
might have
up
been
on the
locked
stuff
up in
once.
my 492.
I am sitting on about 10 locomotives right now. So I've caught up a little bit.
And Jack Deck's got a question. Can someone explain real quick the types of leads for signals involving the common wire?
LEDs.
Yeah.
Yeah, LEDs.
Oh, the types of LEDs.
No, that's beyond my knowledge.
I'd recommend an 0402 LED. I know from China you can buy a tricolor, which is good for like dwarf signals. Basically, you have a common wire which is positive, the other 3 wires are negative, and you got red, yellow, and green. And
yeah, the guy who
but
does
they're an
my
0605 from memory.
the guy who does my signals, he'll do 0402s.
Yeah,
And
that's
have,
the smallest you can get commercially.
Yeah, it'll have a solder or a resistor on the common, which is tied to all 3, and then 3 individual wires off the negative side. And so that's how he does them.
Oh, any more questions, guys? We'll probably get some here in a second.
Yeah.
You do anything interesting, Bill?
Well, I was going to say,
Or
I'm
you just
kind of
been
following
traveling a lot?
Stephen's plan of life at the moment.
Did you hear me, Bill?
No. I heard Shannon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was asking if you've done anything here lately, or you've been traveling a lot.
Oh, I can show real quick. This morning, I actually finished the layout. So let me.
Biggest lie in the world.
Well, yeah, for major scenery anyway. So I pulled it apart. So I did the, I don't know if you can see well, it's kind of dark, the tunnel liner. So this was the last major component. I've got to come back in this afternoon and I'll take the tape off and ballast in about 5 or 6 inches. But I did an 8-inch tunnel liner going inside. And that's the last of the big scenery. And then last weekend, I got my my wires dropped in here on my little electrical. But and I also got my fascia painted.
Well, it's about time.
Yeah, I know. I got rid of that crappy battleship gray that I had on that too. And so with that, this layout for all major things is done. I've got detail work and other stuff. It's never going to be finished, but basically it is finished. So, and with it apart, you can kind of see over here in the cabin. So there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
So so that's what I've been up to.
That's awesome.
So that now means once I get this, I'm going to be doing a wrap-up video on this probably when I get back from my trip, and it won't come out until like latter part of July. I've already got videos in the can up until then. I'll do a lessons learned on it and kind of have it running, but then I'll get started on getting my storage area for the HO scale so that I can move one of the HO scales up and I can start building the next one on that.
Awesome.
Great. Okay, Steve, tell everybody what you did to your locomotive last weekend.
Oh, besides destroying, no. Well, before we go, I want to give a shout out to Bruce Kelly. He watches the replays. He's been religious about watching the show. He's the vice president of Southern Oregon Live Steamers, the club that I take it out to. So, Bruce, shout out to you. But yeah, I put it on the ground really good twice last Saturday. My little mechanism for the drawbar pressure, I had it lifted up, a little further than I should have, and that front truck was riding a little high, and I picked up the points on a couple of switches and really put this thing on the ground. But no damage. I can get into a lot of the details next week, but I remodified my set screw for the drawbar pressure. I got boards coming back the tender deck that glued it in the hole. That broke my whistle. Got a 30-foot steam dome when I kicked my little whistle on the top of the steam dome when I was flipping my foot over and broke that off and had to fix that. So it was, all in all, it was a good run last Saturday, but I had a lot of issues.
I wish I could have been there when you kicked the whistle off of it.
Oh, I was so pissed. I know that's the second time I've done it, and it's really fragile. It's just a little 1/8-inch brass pipe that comes off the steam dome to that little tiny whistle, and I just caught it with the heel of my shoe as I was flipping over, and it was an easy fix, but it really torqued me.
Well, and what you didn't say was you were steamed up at the time. So
and I just had to go. I climbed on to go run. Next thing I know, man, I'm losing the steam off the dome. But easy fix. But I just got to be more careful.
Maybe as just in case you do it again, have an emergency valve, so if you do knock it off, you can at least shut off the pipe to the whistle.
yeah.
Well, no, I just dumped all the steam and ran over to the hardware store and got an 1/8-inch pipe plug. Just plugged the hole, fired it up, and ran it the rest of the day. So it was fine. It just pissed me off more than anything else.
Dave Todd says it sounds like poor train handling.
Yeah. Well, Steve, think of it this way. You've got your large, 7.5-inch gauge, right?
Right.
Or you could be working on something about that big.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
No, you don't understand, because that's actually running on real steam.
Oh, really? Oh, shoot. Well, I can't see it anyway, but I'll bet it.
Here, let me get it real quick. We're out of time, so we'll get it big here.
Oh, I can see it. I can see
Hey,
the
man,
steam in
you're
front of the
gonna
door.
throw a driver going that fast.
So I got a quick question before we go. Steve Anderson, you said you saw my old Santa Fe up in Skycomish. Were you up there? Or did you see it up in? Did you see it on YouTube? Because yeah, it's running up in Skycomish. Anyway, don't matter. Nah, you're crazy.
Well, we're over time, guys, so we got to get out of
Yeah.
here. Thanks everybody in chat for coming. Oh, by the way, Dave Todd will be on the show. I'm not sure what we haven't set up the date yet, but he's going to be on the show, and he's a retired engineer also. So him and Steve will have a lot to talk about, I'm sure, when he gets on here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll show more of this next week if people are interested to me blab on about it.
Okay. And Jason, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Always fun talking to you.
Yeah.
And Dennis, try to stay out of everybody's way, would you?
I'll try.
All right,
Well,
guys.
thanks guys for being here, and enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a good weekend. Good week.
Take care.
Y'all too. Take care.